Ma'am, after 6 o'clock, the policy is ID and bag check. I can't let you in without
I've been coming here for years. I just need to pick something up. It's 10
I understand,
minutes.
but it's the rule, and I'm responsible for it. If you have
I still hear my son's voice asking, Mama, why he hate us? Every time I close my eyes at night. And it hits me like a punch to the gut, raw and unrelenting. It wasn't in some distant history book or an old civil rights movie. It happened right here in Dayton, Ohio, on a rainy Saturday afternoon that started out so damn ordinary. I'm 48 now, a single mom hustling as a hospital admin, pushing papers and dealing with folks' emergencies day in and day out. My boy, Jamal, he's 8, full of that innocent energy kids have before the world chips it away. His dad passed 3 years back from a heart thing that came out of nowhere, leaving me to hold it all together. We don't have much, but we have our routines, our little joys, like heading to the new community mall on the east side. It's got this indoor play area that's supposed to be for everybody. Slides, ball pits, climbing walls, all under one roof. Perfect for days when the sky's dumping rain like it forgot to turn off the faucet. That morning I woke up with a bit of hope in my chest, the kind that sneaks in after a rough week. Jamal was bouncing around the kitchen, his sneakers squeaking on the linoleum floor as he helped me pack our tote bag. Mama, can we get the fruit snacks with the red ones? He asked, his eyes wide and sparkling like they do when he's excited. I laughed, ruffling his curly hair. Sure, baby, red ones it is. We threw in some apple slices, juice boxes, a couple of sandwiches I'd made the night before. Peanut butter and jelly for him, turkey on wheat for me. Nothing fancy, just mom stuff. The mall had opened a few months ago after folks in the neighborhood pushed for it, complaining about how the old spots downtown never felt welcoming for black families like ours. I'd read about it in the local paper. City council meetings where people spoke up, saying it was time for a place where kids could play without side eyes or extra rules. I figured, finally, something for us. A spot to breathe easy. We hopped on the bus, rain pattering against the windows like tiny fingers tapping for attention. Jamal pressed his face to the glass, watching the streets blur by. Gray buildings, wet sidewalks, folks huddled under umbrellas. How much longer, Mama? He kept asking, his little legs swinging. Not long, sweetie, I'd say, pulling him close. My mind wandered to my own childhood, back in the 80s, when Grandma used to tell stories about being turned away from pools or stores just because of her skin. They'd say clothes for cleaning when it wasn't, she'd whisper, her voice thick with that old hurt. I shook it off, though. This was 2023, right? Things were better, or so I told myself. The mall loomed up ahead, all shiny glass and bright signs promising sales and fun. We got off the bus, dodging puddles, and walked up to the main entrance. The air smelled like wet asphalt mixed with the faint popcorn from inside. Jamal's hand was warm in mine, sticky from the fruit snack he'd sneaked earlier. We were smiling, chatting about which slide he'd try first, the twisty one or the straight drop. But as we approached the doors, there he was, the security guard. White guy, late 40s, built like he'd skipped a few workouts but still carried that smug authority. His uniform was crisp, badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights, arms folded across his chest like a wall. He stepped right in front of us, blocking the path. Hold up, he said, his voice flat and cold, like he'd rehearsed it. This ain't the place for y'all today. My stomach dropped, that familiar twist I hadn't felt in a while. Jamal froze, his grip tightening on my fingers. I looked up at the guard, trying to read his face. Narrow eyes, tight jaw, no warmth there at all. Excuse me? I said, keeping my tone even, because that's what you do. You don't snap, not with your kid watching. We're just here for the play area. It's open to the public, right? He eyed me up and down, slow like he was sizing up trouble. My outfit was nothing special. Jeans, a hoodie, sneakers, comfortable for chasing a kid around. Jamal had on his favorite Spider-Man shirt, pants a bit short because he'd grown again. We looked like any mom and son out for the day, but the way he stared, it felt like he saw something else. "We got rules here," he muttered, shifting his weight. "Dress code, behavior guidelines. Can't just let anybody in." Dress code? I glanced around, folks streaming in and out, white families with kids in similar clothes, no one getting stopped. A couple pushed past us with a stroller, laughing, and he didn't even blink. "What dress code?" I asked, my voice steady, but my heart starting to race. Jamal tugged at my hand. "Mama, what's wrong?" His voice was small, confused, like a knife twisting in my side. "It's okay, baby," I whispered, kneeling down a bit to meet his eyes. "We'll figure it out." But inside, that old pain flared up, hot and sharp. Grandma's stories flooded back, the way she'd described the burn of being told you don't belong, like acid in your veins. My chest tightened, breath coming shorter. I'd worked so hard to shield Jamal from this crap. After his dad died, I promised myself he'd have a childhood without that weight. But here it was, staring us down. The guard exhaled through his nose like we were wasting his time. Look, some folks bring trouble. You know how it is. There it was, the first jab, coded, but clear as day. "Trouble?" I repeated, standing straighter. "We're not causing any. My son just wants to play." He smirked faintly, glancing at Jamal, then back at me. "Yeah, well, guidelines are guidelines. Maybe try the rec center downtown. Might fit better there." "Fit better?" The words hung in the air, ugly and heavy. The rec center downtown was the old spot. Rundown, mostly black and brown kids, underfunded like everything else in our neighborhood. This mall was supposed to be different, new, inclusive. But his tone said otherwise. Jamal's eyes got glossy, looking past the guard into the mall where we could hear kids shouting and laughing from the play area. "But Mama, I want to go in," he whispered, his lip quivering. I swallowed hard, that ache spreading like wildfire in my chest. "You will, sweetie," I said softly, but doubt crept in. Why did this always have to be a fight? I'd faced it before, at work, when a patient assumed I was the janitor instead of the admin, in stores, when clerks followed me aisle to aisle like I was going to steal something. But with Jamal here, it hurt deeper, like someone ripping open a scar you'd thought healed. People started noticing now. A few shoppers, slowing down, whispering. An older white lady with a shopping bag paused, frowning. A young black couple with a toddler glanced our way, recognition in their eyes. The guard noticed too, but it didn't soften him. If anything, he puffed up more. "You keep pushing, I can make this official," he said, lowering his voice but not the edge. "Call child services if I have to. Say you're causing a disturbance." My heart pounded, a drum in my ears as the crowd's murmurs grew louder and a few phones came out, pointed our way. That pounding in my chest didn't let up as the murmurs swelled around us, those phones glinting like little eyes capturing every second. The guard's face twisted, spotting the devices aimed at him, and he leaned in closer, his breath hot and stale like day-old coffee. "You think recording changes anything?" he snarled, voice low but slicing through the air. "This mall's got standards, and I'm enforcing them. You look suspicious hanging around like this. Can't have that." Suspicious? The word landed like a slap, echoing in my head. We weren't loitering. We were standing right at the entrance, bag in hand, ready to go in. But he kept scanning me, like my very presence was a red flag. Jamal shifted beside me, his small body pressing against my leg, and I could feel his confusion radiating off him like heat from a fever. "Mama," he murmured, barely audible over the growing chatter. "Why's he so mad?" I squeezed his hand, trying to steady us both, but my mind raced back to flashes I'd buried deep. Stores where clerks tailed me from shelf to shelf, whispering into radios like I was a thief just for browsing. Or that job interview years ago where the boss smiled too tight and said my attitude didn't fit. Code for something darker. Those moments had toughened me, but now, with Jamal's wide eyes on me, they clawed back up, making my throat tighten. I'd sworn to break that cycle for him, to build a world where he could just be a kid. Yet here we were, blocked by a man who saw us as problems before we even stepped inside. Listen, I said, forcing my voice calm, even as anger bubbled under the surface like a pot about to boil over. We're not suspicious. We're customers. My boy's excited about the play area. That's all, he scoffed, crossing his arms tighter, badge catching the light. Yeah, kids like him might run wild, you know? Like the others we've had issues with. We got enough of that energy here already. The implication hit hard. Kids like him. That energy. It wasn't about Jamal. It was about the color of his skin. The assumptions wrapped around it like chains. Welfare mom. Unfit parent. Troublemaker. I could see it all in his narrowed eyes. Jamal's grip turned vice-like, and I glanced down to see tears welling up, silent but shattering. "Mama, can we just go?" he whispered, his voice cracking like thin ice. It tore at me, that plea, twisting my insides into knots. I knelt slowly, eye level with him, brushing a curl from his forehead. "You did nothing wrong, baby," I said softly, my words a shield against the storm. "This ain't on you. It's on grown folks who forgot how to be kind." But inside, it felt like someone had punched straight through my soul, leaving a hollow ache. Rising back up, I faced the guard again, heat rising in my cheeks. "He's a child," I repeated, firmer now. "We're not here to cause issues." But he wasn't backing down. If anything, the crowd's attention fueled him. A white couple with a stroller edged away, avoiding eye contact, their discomfort hanging in the air like fog. But not everyone shied back. Two black moms nearby, one pushing a double pram, exchanged glances and pulled out their phones too. "This is messed up," one said loud enough for him to hear, her voice steady. "Let them in. It's a public mall." An older white lady, silver hair tucked under a rain hat, nodded along, stepping closer. "Young man, this isn't right. They're just trying to have a day out." The guard's jaw clenched, color creeping up his neck. "Mind your business," he snapped at them, waving a hand dismissively. "This is security protocol. If y'all keep gathering, I'll call the cops for trespassing and disturbance." Trespassing? We were on the sidewalk, entrance in sight. The threat hung heavy, stirring the air like a bad wind. Phones multiplied, now 4, 5, capturing his every move. The two moms didn't flinch. One zoomed in, saying, "Go ahead, call him. We'll show this to everyone." The older lady added, "I've shopped here for years. Never seen anyone treated like this." My pulse thrummed louder, a mix of fear and that spark of solidarity warming the chill in my bones. These strangers, stepping in without hesitation. It reminded me of quieter battles I'd fought, like the time at my old job when a coworker backed me up against a racist remark, turning the tide just enough. But this was different, rawer, with Jamal's tears soaking into my sleeve as he buried his face there. "I don't want to be here anymore," he mumbled, muffled against the fabric. The word stung worse than any insult, pulling at my resolve. Part of me wanted to scoop him up and bolt, spare him more of this poison, but walking away felt like surrender, like letting Grandma's stories win all over again. The guard, sensing the shift, straightened up, radio crackling as he thumbed the button. "Yeah, we got a situation at the main doors," he said into it, voice clipped. "Potential crowd issue. Send backup." Backup? For a mom and her kid? The murmurs turned to outright chatter now. More folks pausing. A dad with his daughter on his shoulders, frowning. A group of teens snapping pics. He stepped even closer, invading that invisible bubble. his shadow falling over us. "Y'all always think the rules don't apply," he hissed, eyes locked on mine. "Coming here expecting handouts or whatever. Your boy, he's probably going to grow up to be another statistic anyway." The air sucked out of my lungs, that line hitting like a freight train. Statistic? My sweet Jamal, who draws pictures of superheroes saving the day, who hugs me tight after school. Rage surged hot and fierce, vision blurring at the edges. I wanted to unleash it all. Scream about the nights I worked doubles to keep us afloat. The books I read him about black heroes who changed the world. But I bit it back, voice shaking as I stepped protectively in front of my son. "He's 8, I said, each word deliberate. "He's a child, not your stereotype." The crowd reacted. Gasps, shakes of heads. One of the black moms called out, "That's out of line. Record that. He just said it." The older lady clutched her bag tighter, muttering, "Disgraceful." Tension crackled like electricity, the argument heating up as the guard barked back, "I'm doing my job." More phones joined the fray, the scene swelling into something bigger than us. Then, footsteps echoed from inside. Mall backup arriving, a manager type in a polo shirt, clipboard in hand, striding out with another guard trailing. The manager scanned the group, landing on the first guard. "What's going on here?" he asked, tone authoritative but wary. The guard jumped in quick, gesturing at me. This woman's refusing to comply. Suspicious behavior, gathering a crowd. The manager nodded slowly, glancing our way, and for a split second, his expression mirrored the guard's. That subtle siding, like he'd heard this story before. "Ma'am, we have policies to maintain a safe environment," he said. Not unkind, but not helpful. "If there's an issue, maybe step aside so we can sort it." Sort it? My stomach churned. That emotional dip hitting low as Jamal clung tighter, his sobs quiet but relentless. Tears pricked my own eyes now, the weight of it all pressing down, the stares, the judgments, the exhaustion of proving we belonged. I almost turned then, ready to walk away, defeated, rain soaking us as we headed back to the bus stop. But the crowd wasn't done. The two moms pushed forward, phone steady. "No, you need to hear this," one said, playing back a clip loud enough for all. The guard's words echoed tinny from the speaker. "Grow up to be another statistic." The manager's face paled, shifting uncomfortably. Whispers turned to demands. "Let them in," from the older lady, echoed by others. The argument spiked again, voices overlapping, as the new guard hovered uncertainly. My tears fell silent, mixing with the rain on my cheeks. But I stood there, holding Jamal close, the fire in my gut refusing to flicker out completely. The manager cleared his throat, trying to regain control. "Everyone, calm down. We'll handle this internally." But the pressure built, unrelenting, as more bystanders chimed in, the scene teetering on chaos. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, drawing closer, and my breath caught, wondering if this was the breaking point. Jamal lifted his head slightly, eyes red-rimmed, as the first cop car pulled up to the curb, lights flashing blue and red against the wet pavement. Those flashing lights cut through the rain like knives, casting eerie shadows on the faces around us, and Jamal's slight lift of his head pulled me back from the edge of despair, his damp cheeks pressing against my arm as the officers stepped out. Two of them, uniforms slick with water, approached with measured steps, scanning the cluster of people without a word at first. The guard straightened instantly, pointing at me like I'd started it all. "Officers, good timing," he said, voice laced with false relief. "This woman's been aggressive, stirring up a scene right here at the entrance, refusing to leave, getting the crowd riled." Aggressive? The lie twisted in my gut like a bad meal, but I held my tongue, breathing deep to keep the storm inside from spilling out. Jamal peeked at the cops, his body tense against mine, and I wrapped an arm around him protectively, whispering, "Stay close, baby. Everything's going to be all right." Inside, though, Doubt gnawed at me. Memories of past run-ins flashing like lightning. That traffic stop years ago where a cop questioned my license like it was fake, or the school meeting where they dismissed my concerns about Jamal's teacher as overreacting. I'd learned to navigate these waters, but with him witnessing it, the fear hit different, sharp, personal, like protecting a flame in a gale. The lead officer, a tall black man with a no-nonsense gaze, nodded at the guard before turning to me. "Ma'am, can you tell us what's happening?" His tone was even, professional, a far cry from the guard's snarl. The manager hovered nearby, clipboard forgotten, as the second officer, a younger white guy, started noting the crowd's size. I straightened my shoulders, voice steady despite the tremble in my hands. "We came for the play area. He blocked us, said we didn't fit the standards, made comments about my son, hurtful ones. Folks here recorded it." The guard jumped in, waving his arms. "She's twisting it. I was just enforcing policy, suspicious loitering, potential disruption." But the phones told another story. One of the moms held hers up, replaying the clip again, his voice booming out. "Grow up to be another statistic." Gasps rippled anew, and the officers exchanged glances, the lead one frowning deeper. "We'll need statements from everyone," he said, then looked at me. "ID, please, ma'am. And yours, too," he added to the guard, who handed his over smugly. I reached into my bag slowly, pulling out my wallet, the movement deliberate to avoid any misread. Handing over my driver's license, I caught the lead officer's eye as he read it, his brow furrowing slightly before recognition sparked, like a puzzle piece clicking in. He tilted the card toward his partner, murmuring low, "Wait, this is her. The one from the 15 suit." The younger cop's eyes widened, whispering back, "The civil rights case? Against the city and the old security firm?" The manager, overhearing, leaned in, face draining of color like he'd seen a ghost. That was the twist I hadn't planned to drop. Not here, not like this. Years back, I'd been a firebrand attorney, fresh out of law school, leading a class action against Dayton's discriminatory practices. Cops profiling black drivers, malls like this one's predecessor, turning away families based on vibes. We'd won big. A settlement that mandated training, oversight, changes that were supposed to prevent days like today. I'd retired after Jamal's dad passed, trading courtrooms for quieter admin work, but my name still carried weight in these circles. The guard, oblivious at first, caught the shift in their postures. "What's that mean?" he demanded, voice pitching higher. The lead officer handed my ID back respectfully, his demeanor flipping from neutral to attentive. "Ma'am, I remember your work. Changed a lot around here." He turned to the guard, tone sharpening. "You just denied entry to the lawyer who sued this city over exactly this kind of bias, and from what I'm hearing, with racial overtones." The guard's smugness shattered, eyes darting like a trapped animal. I didn't know. How was I supposed to recognize her?" He backpedaled fast, glancing at the manager for backup, but the man was already distancing himself, muttering, "We don't condone this." Recordings sealed it. Multiple angles, clear audio, no denying the slurs he'd tossed like casual grenades. The younger officer started collecting phones for evidence, while the crowd buzzed louder, a mix of outrage and vindication. One black dad nearby clapped slowly, saying, "About time." The guard stammered, "It was just talk. Policy enforcement." But the lies crumbled under the weight of proof, his face flushing red as the officers conferred. That's when the dam inside me cracked just enough. Not a flood, but a steady stream, voice firm, cracking at the edges with years of held-back fury. "You didn't need my name or my history," I said, locking eyes with him. "You just needed to see a black mom and her boy as people deserving a damn day out. Not threats, not statistics, humans." Jamal looked up then, his expression a swirl of awe and lingering fear, like he'd seen me grow taller in that instant. Pride flickered in his eyes, mixed with the remnants of hurt, and it fueled me, turning the crush of earlier into something steelier, more resolved. The power flipped like a switch. The manager rushed forward, apologies tumbling out. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. This isn't how we operate. We'll handle him immediately." He signaled to the backup guard, who escorted the first one aside, radioing for removal. "You're off shift now," the manager barked, voice tight with damage control. The officers nodded approvingly, taking statements with care, treating me like the authority I once was. The crowd eased into quiet cheers, a few claps echoing. Those two moms hugged me quick, one whispering, "You handled that like a queen." Other black families nearby nodded in solidarity, their kids watching wide-eyed, as if sensing the shift in the air. In that heartbeat, the weight lifted a fraction, from feeling trampled to standing firm. I remembered the late nights poring over case files, the rallies I'd spoken at, fighting not for glory, but for moments like this, shielding the next generation from the same old poison. It wasn't about revenge. It was reclaiming space, one quiet stand at a time. Jamal squeezed my hand, his tears drying, as the officers wrapped up, promising a full report. The manager gestured toward the doors, now wide open, but I held back a second, letting the victory sink in amid the fading sirens and dispersing rain. The open doors stood there waiting, no longer a challenge, but an actual welcome, and something in me shifted as I took the first step inside, with Jamal's small hand still wrapped around two of my fingers. The cool, bright air of the mall hit us instantly. Popcorn, cinnamon pretzels, new rubber from the play equipment, smells that felt almost too gentle after everything outside. Jamal walked slowly at first, like he was testing whether the floor might disappear beneath him. His Spider-Man shirt was still damp at the shoulder from his tears, and every few steps he glanced back toward the entrance, half expecting the guard to appear again. I guided him toward the play area without saying much. Words felt too heavy right then. He stopped at the edge of the padded zone, staring at the kids scrambling over the climbing structure like they hadn't just watched a grown man try to shrink us. One little boy waved at Jamal. Jamal didn't wave back. He looked up at me, eyes still red, asking without speaking, "Is it really okay now?" "Go on, baby," I said softly. "This part is yours." He took one cautious step onto the mat, then another, then suddenly he was running. Not the full speed, joyful run from this morning, but a careful, testing trot. Within 30 seconds, he was climbing the rope net, sneakers gripping hard, curls bouncing. I watched him disappear into a tunnel and felt my shoulders drop for the first time in an hour. I found an empty bench near the entrance to the play zone, sank down, and let the exhaustion roll over me in waves. My legs felt like they weighed 100 pounds each. The tote bag slid off my shoulder and landed between my feet with a soft thud of juice boxes and forgotten fruit snacks. That's when the two black moms from outside walked over. The one with the double stroller, her name was Denise, sat on my left without asking. The younger one, Tasha, took the right. Neither of them spoke at first. We just sat there. Three women who didn't know each other's last names but knew this particular flavor of tired all too well. Denise finally broke the silence. "You didn't flinch once out there, not once." "I flinched inside," I admitted. "Felt like my ribcage was cracking." Tasha laughed under her breath, a tired, knowing sound. "That's the part nobody sees." We fell quiet again, watching our kids. Jamal had finally found the nerve to go down the big twisty slide. I heard his laugh. Small at first, then real, loud, unstoppable. The sound cracked something open in my chest, but this time it wasn't pain. It was relief so sharp it almost hurt. More women drifted over during the next half hour. A Puerto Rican mom named Marisol, An older black lady named Miss Ruth who'd been shopping for grandbaby shoes. 5 of us on that one bench eventually, passing around a pack of wipes and a bag of goldfish crackers like communion. Each woman had a story. Different day, different place, same wound. A Target, a school pickup line, a restaurant where the hostess couldn't find their reservation. We didn't try to fix anything. We just passed the hurt between us like a hot stone until it cooled enough to hold. Jamal played for almost 2 hours. I timed it on my phone because I needed proof that joy could outlast cruelty. He made a new friend. They chased each other through the ball pit until both were laughing so hard they couldn't stand up straight. I caught his eye once, and he gave me the biggest, toothiest grin I'd seen in months. That grin said, "I'm okay, Mama. We're okay." Later that night, after bath time and 3 stories, and the 10th time he asked if the guard was gonna come back, I sat on the edge of his bed watching him fight sleep. "He was wrong, right?" Jamal mumbled, eyelids heavy. "He was wrong, baby, and he's already gone from here. For good." Jamal nodded once, small and solemn, then drifted off, clutching the stuffed spider I'd bought him 2 birthdays ago. I stepped into the hallway, closed his door softly, leaned my forehead against the wood, and cried the kind of cry you only let happen when the house is finally silent. Not loud sobs, just a slow, steady leak of everything I'd held in all afternoon. When it was over, I felt lighter, emptier, but lighter. The next 3 weeks moved fast. The security guard was terminated within 4 days. Turns out there were 7 prior complaints in 18 months, all swept under the rug until the videos surfaced. The mall chain issued a public apology and quietly rewrote their entire security training manual, citing the 2015 reforms, my old case, as the foundation they should have been following all along. They even asked me to consult on the new policy. I told them I'd think about it. I never gloated, never posted the videos myself. Other people did that work. I just focused on Jamal's smile coming back easier, on the way he now walks into new places with his shoulders a little higher. Some nights I still lie awake replaying the guard's voice in my head. Some nights I still taste metal in my mouth from biting back what I really wanted to say. But then I remember Jamal coming out of that ball pit, cheeks flushed, eyes shining, running straight to me with his arms wide open like the world hadn't tried to close its fist around him. That's the part I choose to keep. America still hides these little landmines in the places we're told are safe. They explode when you least expect it, when your child just wants to slide and laugh and be ordinary. But I've learned something after all these years. The landmines only win if we teach our kids to shrink themselves to avoid them. My son is going to grow up knowing he belongs in every room, every park, every mall, every damn place that taxpayer money built. He's going to know that his mother didn't beg for permission. She reminded them it was already his. And if anyone ever tries to tell him different, he'll have a whole lifetime of watching me stand up straight to look back on. That's the real inheritance. If you're listening to this right now, whether you're in your car, your kitchen, or lying in bed trying not to cry, I need you to know you're not alone in these moments. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from tonight. Tell me the last time someone tried to make you feel small. Or tell me the last time you stood up anyway. Say it out loud. We keep each other breathing. Thank you for sitting here with me. I see you. Jamal and I walked out of that mall at closing time, hand in hand, the sky finally clear and turning the softest shade of orange. He looked up at me and said, "Mama, can we come back tomorrow?" I smiled, squeezed his hand, and answered the only way I knew how. "Yeah, baby, we can come back every single time we feel like it."